Now, the U.S. military is not filing any criminal charges against a dozen of its service members for a deadly airstrike on a charity hospital in Afghanistan last year. According to U.S. officials, 16 military personnel have been disciplined for the events that led to the October bombing of the facility run by Doctors Without Borders. The incident in the northern Afghan city of Kunduz killed 42 people and wounded almost as many people. The U.S. service members have only received non-judicial punishments, including letters of reprimand. A number of special operations forces, as well as a two-star general, are among those punished. The Pentagon is also expected to announce the findings of its investigation later on Friday. The U.S. has hinted that the airstrike was a result of a human error, but Doctors Without Borders has in the past cast doubt on the notion.
This was a tragic.
Well, let's speak to Professor Rodney Shakespeare. He's a political commentator and he joins us via Skype from London. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Professor Shakespeare. Now, things like letters of reprimand being given for the killing of 42 people at a hospital in Afghanistan. What do you make of that?
42 people killed, over 40 grievously wounded. This is a war crime. The coordinates of the hospital were given. But when you give the Americans coordinates of a hospital or a school or United Nations, and the same with the Israelis, you can almost guarantee that they will in fact attack it. In this case, the helicopter gunship kept going round, attacking and attacking, and they knew they were attacking a hospital because they protested back to their controllers that they were attacking a hospital. But the controllers, with a racist mindset, which says they can do what they like and no one can ever touch them, said, carry on, attack this civilian hospital. And even if there had been a Pakistani somewhere in the grounds, you don't try and wipe out a whole hospital time and time again. This is deliberate war crime. A slap on the wrist at the worst is what those responsible have been given for it, and the evidence is clear. The crew knew they were doing wrong.
Well, Professor Shakespeare, it turns out that the Pentagon is holding its own investigation, the results of which hopefully will be announced soon. What do you think that will hold?
Look, the Pentagon is not going to do any investigation. They will be holding back the cockpit recordings. I mean, it's like the plane which was blown up over Ukraine, the radar and all the rest of it. The Americans hold back the key evidence because it would go against their position, which is basically that they can all do what they like. And the same with the Israelis. This is ultimately a racist arrogance which says that we get involved and we attack and we don't know the consequences, and they are hypocrites to even claim that there would be any sort of proper investigation. There won't be, and there never will be.
Professor Shakespeare, as you just also pointed out, that this case by itself is not an isolated incident. It sort of marks the U.S. occupation of Afghanistan from the onset, where civilians have fallen victim to U.S. drone strikes and military operations. However, after all these years of U.S. involvement in Afghanistan and these killings, with the number of civilians being killed mounting, it is interesting to note that there is no international mechanism to hold the U.S. accountable for it.
No, there is no investigation. And it's no coincidence that this sort of incident is always the USA and Israel. They are hand in glove with Saudi Arabia in what is basically an attempt to smash up Muslims generally and to smash up independent nations. And like the Saudis, they don't care how much it's killing, and nor do the Israelis. The whole thing is disgrace. The decent people of the West, where I am at this moment, we must stand up and hold our governments to account and to say we won't stand for it anymore.
Well, Doctors Without Borders, of course, is not taking this sitting down. Up until now, when the U.S. said that the airstrike was a result of human error, the group rejected that claim. How far do you think Doctors Without Borders can take this, though?
Well, first of all, the USA kept changing its story right the way through. They were lying. And they cannot claim it was human error because, in fact, the pilots of the gunship doing the bombing and the attacking, they, in fact, objected to doing this. I don't doubt whether the USA will be able to be taken to the Hague on this. That's the trouble with the USA and Israel. They do what they like. But ultimately, the court of international public opinion, and I'm not talking about the Americans and their cronies. And there's increasingly there are people coming through Press TV and Russia Today and saying, we are going to hold you responsible because you are monsters and you're hand in hand with Daesh and you go around destroying people all the time. And behind it, of course, is you are playing the Zionist racist line.
All right, that's Rodney Shakespeare, political commentator, joining us via Skype from London. Professor Shakespeare, it's always a pleasure talking to you here on Press TV.